So you've decided to sell your home. There are lots of reasons people sell. Some people want to downsize. Other people have a growing family, or they have furry friends like ours over there and they need more space. Whatever the reason is that you're moving and you're selling your home, you've got to remember there's a lot that can happen and you want to avoid the mistakes that people make. So I'm going to go over the 5 most common mistakes that people make when they sell their home. Let's start with number 5, doing the wrong updates. I've had a lot of people call me and say, hey, we're ready to sell our home. Should we paint it? Well, doing touch-up is an absolute yes. That's a no-brainer. Now, painting the entire house, that kind of depends on the condition of your home and the paint that you have in it right now and the color that you have in it right now. If you're going to paint it, you want to paint it a neutral color so you'll appeal to the largest amount of people. I had a client once that said, yeah, I'm going to paint the house. We said, great, because it needed it. And then when I went in and looked, it was a bright blue, and I'm talking bright, scary blue. That's a mistake. Use a neutral color. Don't make the wrong updates. Number 4, making a bad first impression. There's an old saying that goes, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Well, that's absolutely true, especially with home buyers. I can't tell you how many times we've walked up to a house, I've unlocked the door, opened the door, and you see something like this. Dark and gloomy. If your buyer sees that when they walk in the door, they may just say, you know what, I already have some bad feelings about this. Let's go on to the next one. Instead, you want the house to look like this. This is the same home with all the lights on. It makes it bright and happy. One of the other things you need to do, make up your beds and make sure there are no dirty dishes in the sink. I know that sounds very obvious, but a lot of times there are things that you overlook in a hurry. So make sure those things are done. Also, if you're in the heat of the summer, make sure the air conditioning is on, or if you're in the dead of winter, make sure the heat is on. You don't want people shivering or sweating in your home. You want them to have a happy experience. Number 3, not getting a lease back. So typically when you sell your home, you go to the closing table on closing day, and when you leave, you have to be out of the house. You're done with it, unless you get a lease back. Why do you want to get a lease back? Well, here's what happened to somebody I know once. They called and said, hey, I'm in just a terrible spot. My house was supposed to close today. I've moved out already and into a rental place. I'm paying money on a rental place, and now the people didn't close. And now I'm stuck with an empty house, a mortgage payment, and a rental. So make sure when you're negotiating your contract that your realtor gets you a seller's temporary residential lease. That will allow you to stay in your home for a certain amount of time after closing. And usually you can get a couple of free days. If you need longer than that, you may have to pay some rent, and you usually pay per day. But it's money well spent because you don't want to move out and then have somebody cancel on you, and then you're stuck with a mortgage payment and a rental payment. Number 2, failure to disclose issues with the home. A Texas real estate attorney once told me that the majority of his cases, the most lawsuits that he works on, are dealing with a seller who didn't disclose something to a buyer. And the buyer got in there after closing and discovered there was something wrong. How do you avoid that? Well, of course, you fill out a seller's disclosure notice, which should be done on every contract in the state of Texas. And make sure that you disclose anything and everything that might be wrong with the home. Once you've disclosed it and the buyer knows, you're okay. You know, you can have a chance to negotiate that, but at least you didn't hide anything that you could get sued for later on. And the number 1 mistake that most people make? Overpricing their home. Now I know, of course, you want to get the most that you can get when you sell your home. It's a big investment, and you want to make sure that you've gotten a good return. Do yourself a favor and don't overprice it. If you overprice it, it is going to be more likely that it's going to sit on the market for a long time. And eventually, you're going to have to drop the price just to get people in the door. Why is that bad? Well, because buyers come to me all the time and they say, hey, this house has been on the market for 5 months and they've dropped the price 3 times. What's wrong with it? Well, there may not be anything wrong with it more than it just started out overpriced. And now it kind of has the stink of failure on it. What does that mean? Buyers are going to think, well, they've been on the market a long time. I bet I can get a really good deal on it. And so you end up getting really bad offers. If you price it accordingly, when you first put it on the market, you're going to get more people in the door and more serious buyers and fewer lowball offers. So those are the top 5 mistakes that most people make when they're selling their home. Those are very common. How do you avoid those? Hire a licensed, experienced realtor. I say this all the time. Find somebody who's been in the business for a long time and has sold hundreds of homes and got years and years of experience. Don't hire somebody who's doing this part-time as a side gig, side hustle, something they do on the weekend. Make sure this is their business. If you want to see homes that are for sale in the Dallas-Fort Worth market, I'll include a link in the description. Please like and subscribe and watch for other videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.